What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your DX12 powered speaker. Along with the speaker itself, it also comes with a power cable so we can power the speaker. So before we dive in, let's check out the controls, inputs, and outputs for the speaker so we have a better idea of how to set it up. These controls, inputs, and outputs are all located on the back of the speaker. So if we take a look at the very top, you'll see these LED indicators here. On the very bottom, we have the power LED, and this lets us know that our speaker is powered on and working. In the middle, we have the signal LED that lets us know when a signal is coming in from your microphone, instrument, mixer, etc. And then we have the clipped LED, which will let us know whenever our speaker is getting too loud or distorted. So if this light comes on, try lowering the master volume of the speaker, or if you have your microphone, instrument, or mixer plugged into the speaker, try lowering the volume coming from those sources. Next to the LEDs, we have the 2-band EQ with the bass and treble knobs. We can use these to adjust the overall sound coming out of our speaker. So we have the bass knob that we can use to boost or cut the bass or low end frequencies for the speaker. And then we have the treble knob that we can use to boost or cut the high end frequencies coming out of the speaker. Next, we have the line volume knob to adjust the volume of anything plugged into the line input on the speaker. So this could range anywhere from your mixer, your line level instrument like your keyboard, etc. Next to that, we have the master volume to adjust the overall volume coming out of the speaker. Moving on to the bottom row, we have the microphone volume knob to adjust the volume of the microphone that's plugged in to the mic input right next to the knob. This input is also a combo jack input, which means you can use either an XLR cable or a female XLR to 1/4-inch cable to connect your microphone. Next, we have the line input, so we can connect anything from an additional powered speaker, a mixer, or a line level instrument like a keyboard or synth. And like I mentioned earlier, you're going to use the line volume knob to adjust the volume of whatever is plugged into this line input. And lastly, we have the mix output, so we can send the signal from this powered speaker out to another powered speaker or powered sub. So now let's talk about some different ways we can position our DX12. We actually have a few different options on how to do this. If you take a look at the bottom of the speaker, you'll see that you have two separate pole mounts. You can use the one towards the back of the speaker so it will sit vertically on your speaker stand, or you could use the one towards the front of the speaker so that it will tilt about 15 degrees when placed on your speaker stand. Whichever one you want to use is completely dependent on the setup. So if you're on a taller stage, you might want to use the pole mount that will tilt the speaker a bit downwards. And for a more traditional setting, you can use the other pole mount so that it's completely vertical. So for that traditional setup, we're going to take our speaker and line up the pole mount that's towards the back of the speaker to the top of our speaker stand, just like this. Then we're just going to safely guide it down. And just like that, our speaker is sitting completely vertical. If you wanted to go for the other setup, you're just gonna line up the pole mount towards the front of the speaker to the top of the speaker stand like that. And then you can see that 15-degree tilt downwards. For my setup today, I'm gonna position the speaker so that it's completely vertical. You can also use the speaker as a monitor wedge because of the overall shape by placing it on the floor on its side. There's also rubber feet on the bottom of the speaker, so you can also place it down vertically. On top of the speaker, there's also fly points so you can hang it from your ceiling with safety cables. After you position the speaker the way you want, you can run it to power and use it in your setup. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to position your DX12. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time. So one of the things we can do with our speaker is set up a dynamic microphone like this one right here. On the back of the speaker, we have a combo jack microphone input, which means we can use either an XLR or a female XLR to 1/4-inch cable to connect our mic. For today, I'm going to be using a standard XLR cable. So I'm going to take the female end of my cable and plug it into my microphone. Then I'm going to plug the other end into the mic input on the back of the speaker. If you're using a female XLR to 1/4-inch cable, you're just going to plug the 1/4-inch end into the mic input. Now on the back of the speaker, we're going to raise the mic volume knob next to the microphone input, and then we're going to raise the master volume knob so we can hear it coming out of the speaker. So now if I turn on my microphone, Check 1, 2, you should be able to hear my voice coming out of the speaker. Now we can adjust the overall sound of our speaker by using the bass knob and the treble knob. We can use the bass knob to boost or cut the low end frequencies of the speaker. So for example, I'm going to lower the bass. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. And now you won't hear as much body coming out of my voice. But if I raise it all the way up, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, you hear a lot more bass coming through, a lot more body, a lot more oomph. Or I can bring it back to the middle for a balanced sound. Next, you have the treble knob to boost or cut the high-end frequencies for the speaker. So if I lower that all the way down, check 1, 2, you don't hear as much brightness or presence from my voice. If I raise it all the way up, check 1, 2, you get maximum brightness or presence there. And then now I'm going to bring it back to the middle for the balanced sound. Remember, the 2-band EQ will not only adjust the microphone, but anything else plugged into the speaker like your line level instrument, mixer, etc. Now you also have the option to set up your instrument to the speaker, whether that be your keyboard or synthesizer, or even your guitar. To do this, I'm going to use a 1/4-inch cable to connect my guitar to the speaker. We're going to be plugging it into the line input, which is also a combo jack input, so you can also use an XLR cable if your instrument has an XLR output. So I'm going to take one end of my cable and plug it into my guitar. Then I'm going to plug the other end into the line input on the back of my speaker. Next, I'm going to want to raise the line volume knob on the back of my speaker. And I'm also going to raise the master volume knob so we can hear everything coming out. So now I can raise the volume on my guitar. And if I start to play, you should be able to hear it coming out of the speaker. You can use the same exact steps to set up your keyboard or synth, whether it has a 1/4-inch output or an XLR output. So because there's also a mic input, you can set up your microphone and your instrument at the same time, which makes for a great live performance or busking setup. So I have my microphone all set up here, so I can bring that in, check 1, 2. You hear my voice coming out there. Now I'm gonna play my guitar, and you'll be able to hear both at the same time. Yeah, 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 yeah. And remember, if you want to set up your keyboard or your synthesizer instead of your guitar, you're just going to follow these same exact steps. So we also have the option to link 2 DX12 speakers together for an even bigger sound. We can do this by using the mix output on one speaker and the line input on the other speaker. I'm actually going to turn these around so you can see what we're doing. So using an XLR cable, I'm going to take the female end and plug it into the mix out of one speaker. Then I'm going to plug the other end into the line input on the next speaker. I'm also going to want to raise the master volume on both speakers. And because we're using the line input on the second speaker, I'm going to raise the line volume knob so that this way, everything coming from our first speaker will come out through the second speaker. To test our setup, I'm going to plug a microphone into my first speaker here. Now that I have the mic all set, I'm going to turn it on. Check 1, 2, and you should be able to hear my voice coming out of both speakers. In addition, you can also use the line input on your first speaker so that this way you have your microphone and your instrument set up with both speakers at the same time. You can also use the 2-band EQ of both speakers to fine-tune the sound coming out of both. Now you can also use the same exact steps if you wanted to link up one of your DX12 speakers to another powered speaker or even a powered subwoofer. So all you'll need to do is take an XLR cable, plug the female end into the mix output of the DX12, then plug the other end into the line input of your powered speaker or powered subwoofer, and you'll be good to go. Now another thing I want to show you guys is how to set up a mixer to your DX12 speakers so that this way you have more control over the sound that's coming out of your speakers, and so that you have more options when plugging in your microphones, instruments, etc. I'm going to turn these speakers around so you can see which inputs we're using when setting it up. For my setup today, I'm using the Rockmix 10FX. So for this setup, I'm going to use 2 XLR cables to connect from the main outputs of my mixer to the inputs of my speakers. But if your mixer has 1/4-inch outputs instead, you can still use these speakers because you can also plug in 1/4-inch cables into the line input. So with the 2 XLR cables, I'm going to plug the female ends into the main mix outputs of my mixer. Then I'm going to plug the other ends into the the line inputs on both of my speakers. Remember, if you're using 1/4-inch inputs, you're gonna plug it into the same exact input. The next thing I'm gonna wanna do is raise the line volume knobs on both speakers since we're using the line inputs. And I'm also gonna wanna raise the master volume knob so that you can hear everything coming out of the speakers. Once I have everything set up to my mixer, I'm gonna raise the main mix knob so that everything connected to the mixer is coming out of our speakers. I have my phone connected to the mixer through Bluetooth, so I'm gonna play some music for you guys so we can hear how our setup sounds. Oh wow, that sounds great. So loud. We can even go up on volume a little bit. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your DX12 powered speakers. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.